There's an old face set to return. Adam, what do we know about Zeke Elliott's new deal?
Laura, he's passed his physical. He still has not signed a contract, but it's going to be a deal for worth up to $3 million to bring him back to the Dallas Cowboys. And it's a situation where everybody could see this deal coming. He met with the Cowboys last week. There's been talk of a reunion for weeks. The Dallas Cowboys didn't draft a running back. He hadn't found a home. It's almost like these two sides were destined to be with each other this upcoming season. Ezekiel Elliott meant more to Dallas this season than he would anyone else. The Dallas Cowboys meant more to him than they would anybody else. And this was a marriage waiting to happen that'll become official tomorrow once he officially signs.
Yeah, Adam, they did address a lot of needs in the draft, right? Taking tackle Tyler Guyton in the first round, Cooper Beebe in the third round, who likely is going to compete for the starting center job. But as you mentioned, one need they didn't address was running back. And that, of course, does lead to them bringing in Zeke Elliott. But look who we're going to bring in here. Mel Kiper Jr., fresh off another standout performance at the NFL draft. Mel, no running back on that list for Dallas. You like what they did last week?
I like some of what they did, Laura. I said 3 offensive linemen have to be brought in, and I think their 7th round pick, Nathan Thomas from Louisiana Lafayette, could be a guy they can develop, and maybe in 3 years you'll be hearing from him. But I think right away, the running back spot, you can give them the ball and let them go as long as they can block. And Mina knows the importance of that for a running back. You don't get on the field unless you can as a rookie, but if you can do that, instincts take over. You can be as good as a rookie running the ball and catching as you will be down the road. It's the only position you don't need experience if you can block. So these guys come right in, they're running wild. And so they did not take one, which was surprising. Waited until the 6th round to take a wide receiver. Did add, as I say, those 3 offensive linemen and Marshawn Nealon at defensive end in the 2nd round. So they did a good job hitting need areas, but they missed on the running backs throughout the entire draft. And as I said, waited until the 6th round to take a wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they didn't take one. I know I've been critical in the past of teams that have taken them in the 1st or maybe even the 2nd round, but you saw a lot of really good backs go off the board in the mid rounds where I do think it makes sense to draft one. I'm kind of 2 minds about their class as a whole. On one hand, I like the players. I think they have high upside. I think that this is a front office that has drafted really well over the last few years and deserves the benefit of the doubt. But on the other hand, when you look at these players, it really reinforces kind of what's been a trend with this offseason with the Cowboys, which is they may say they're all in, but their moves seem to indicate they aren't. Tyler Guyton, super athletic tackle, but I think a lot of people view him as raw, somebody who will have to make maybe the move from right to the left side. Marshawn Nealon, small school, a lot of production there, but again, there's a little bit of projection. Even if you think of Trey Lance as part of this draft class, right, because it was the 4th round pick, again, that's a project that's developmental. So I just question, okay, what are they telling us about their timeline and their strategy by seemingly focus on a draft class for the future rather than trying to take players who can contribute immediately and fill obvious needs?
Yeah, I think the interesting part about the draft when it comes to the running back room is post-draft, what running back rooms in the NFC do we think are like less reliable and less, as far as like higher expectations than the Cowboys? I think maybe the Giants, maybe the Bucks, and even those guys. Giants signed Singletary in free agency, so you're intrigued by his impact on that offense. And then the Bucks have some young players. The Cardinals drafted Trey Benson out of Florida State, so there's just so much unproven element-wise in the Cowboys' backfield outside of Zeke, who's coming off an okay year. Draft-wise, this draft for the Cowboys will come down to both Guyton and Beebe. If they become really good starting offensive linemen, it's a win. If not, there's some questions. I guess the question for Mel is, Guyton, do you think that Guyton is the offensive lineman that is meant to keep Tyler Smith at left guard and he plays potentially left tackle? Or is Guyton there to replace a struggling Terrence Steele from last year?
I would say right tackle, Dano. For me, I think if you're asking Tyler Guyton, who's still learning and developing and needs coaching, and they did a really good job with Tyler Smith, who came in with all those penalties at Tulsa, had some struggles early on, and really has emerged as a star. What do they do with him? Obviously, guard left tackle. Yeah. What do you do with Tyler Guyton? I think it's right tackle. To ask him to move over, I think would be asking an awful lot his first year in the NFL when he's still learning and developing. Has to deal with the best edge rushers in the world. I think that would be stretching it a bit for me.
Yeah, so the big thing then is going to be, is Beebe a day one starter? Because then for this draft to pay off, to Mina's point for the all-in, Beebe's going to have to be their starting either really left
Center?
guard or center. Yeah. So I think that's the situation for the Cowboys. I understand they have decent pieces in their backfield, but if for a team and organization that said they wanted to run the football and all that stuff, outside of Ezekiel Elliott, there's not really a person or a room in the NFL running back wise that has less proven commodities.
Do you think they're better now than they were last year?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No. Especially, I mean, Pollard was so dynamic. They don't necessarily have that person right now. Obviously, losing Tyron, even with the injury history, is an issue. So I like Maris Leofau that they took out of Notre Dame. I think he's a good linebacker, but offensively, they're definitely less.
It's not what Cowboys fans want to hear. We'll see if there's anything else they can do to get better. They have done well in the draft, to your point, though. They're going to have to develop those guys.